Again, my eyes are fascinated. Again, with a studio owner, so I know all the the little things.
Yeah.
Neat.
Does your husband have a studio in his basement in the house?
No, he owns original facet was he owned a recording studio, and that's been around since 2006. And then has added on an iteration of a creative production company, and then we also have a backline company. So we own lots of guitars and amps and things that I needed out of my house. So when bands come in from out of town, sometimes they don't want to bring all their equipment. So then we backline their gear and things like that. So now we're housed out of a space that can hold all three of those companies, essentially. Yeah. Yeah. But he's moved studios a lot. I helped the first couple times, but yeah. Yeah.
Your days of a roadie are over.
Yep. Long gone. But he loves it. So, yeah.
Nice. So you brought your journal. Do you have writings?
Funny, I don't. I received this journal as a gift at the beginning of my recent cancer diagnosis, and I thought to myself, oh, I'm going to have time to write, and I'm going to fill these pages. And prior to about 4 p.m. today, 2 pages had words on them because the journey just ended up being far different than I expected, and there wasn't the time that I had hoped for that. It got put on pause. So I'd had some ideas about this conversation. And when I say ideas, just like things that were kind of resonating or surfacing as I thought about sharing a space with you. And I didn't write anything down. And I actually was okay with just bringing the journal blank. I wrote a few things down before I came. And that's it. Yeah.
Are you recording?
Yeah,
Yes. He does
No,
this.
he is. Uh-huh. How do we look? How do we sound?
Everybody sounds amazing.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's amazing.
Okay, great.
So how I will start it off is asking the question of calling this my favorite life, and what does it mean for you to live your favorite life?
For me, the word that comes to mind is being peaceful and riding the wave. That's what it means to live my favorite life. I often get told that I am a positive person. I get that a lot. Like, you are so positive. You have such a positive mindset. And I don't disagree with that. But I think for me, positivity is really, I think people have a misperception that I don't move in and out of sadness and fear and disappointment and jealousy and all of these things. I actually do quite often. I ride those as much as I ride happiness and joy. And so for me, living my very best life is, or my favorite life is, knowing how to work through all of that in a peaceful state. I will often say, hands up, like arms up, just go on the ride. And that's what I'm constantly trying to refine for myself, and knowing where I'm at in every single moment. And if I like being there or not, or what it feels like and how I move forward. So learning how to embrace all emotions and experiences is what feels really good for me. I do have quite a resistance to anger and blame, though, I would say. I do not feel or experience those things often, or at least at this point in my life, because I have learned that they get me nowhere. Like,
I get that.
yeah, because I've tried them out. I have tried them out in the past, and I can't even move an inch forward with those emotions or those states of being. Sadness, fear, disappointment, all those catapult me somewhere, but anger, resentment, blame have never fueled me in any form. So that's probably when people say you're really positive, I think that's maybe what they're recognizing, is that I've been able to put those things in a place, because for me, they just never served me. I've seen anger serve people many times. Like, it's fine.
It becomes passion
Right,
and drive.
all of that.
Yes.
But for me, it never turns over into those things. So my favorite life is a full life, which means that you can't choose some things and not the others.
It's the human experience.
Right.
The full spectrum of living. And you talk about riding the wave, and what are some of the techniques, the tools, how you navigate the waves? Because some days those waves are slow and rolling and easily can navigate them. And some days they're choppy and quick.
So true. I'm going to point back to a mantra or mindset that I remember feeling and knowing, I would say as young as 5 years old. I always heard in my head, like, this life is really quick. I mean, as a 5-year-old, kindergarten, I remember sitting in Mrs. McMurray's class and hearing, like, this life is really quick. It goes really fast. And actually, as I grew older, I kind of perceived that as like, oh, I'm going to live a really short life. Like, I'm only going to be here until I'm, well, let's say 47. That's how old I am. But as I grew older, I actually turned that into, oh, like, if I was here 80 years or 100 years, that's quick.
In the grand scheme of things.
Right.
Yes.
Like, that is a snapshot. So there's a little bit of something that started in me really early on that was like, you're just going to live it all so that this short time quantitatively can feel longer qualitatively if I'm really open to all of it. So I would say there's that component. And then I have an affair with love and hope. I just do. Love is. Yeah. And it is the most powerful thing I have ever seen. It's like the thing that can destroy you and also light you up. It's just so fascinating. And I think all things can come from it. And then hope, like its whole essence, the only way it gets to exist is for us to believe, right? And hold on to belief. And so in moments that are turbulent and challenging, I am paying tribute to hope and to love and letting those things grow even stronger per my struggle. And that's how I feel it in my body, in my mind, in my breath. I've just never seen anything like those two facets of life. And I think if and when I can strengthen that in myself, it strengthens it for others. Yeah. Like I get emotional talking about it. Yeah.
These qualities of love, hope, and for me, there's then that quality of trust, trusting then in myself,
Yeah.
creating space for myself to hold the continuum. And because I'm able to do that myself, like you said, being able to then hold space for others.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big fan of intuition too. I like it. Yeah.
How do you tap into your intuition? And again, techniques, tips of trusting your intuition as opposed to getting lost in ego or identity.
Which is a real thing. It's, I actually think, so I currently serve, I'm an administrator in education, and I think in my interview for the job that I currently hold, one of the questions is like, what is a strength that you would bring to this position? And I said, intuition, which, you know, in the corporate world, education world, or whatever, I don't know that that's like a valued quality, or it's probably not an answer that is often given because we like to be data driven. We like to have all the facts to make decisions, or that tends to be what I found to be the norm or default mode. And I'm not arguing that those things are not important. They have their place. But I think how I spoke about it in the interview was like, intuition is like learning how to jump rope when you're little, right? You try it out. You have a lot of mishaps. You adjust. You do all of these things to get better and better at trusting what you're doing. So intuition is not for me, it is not some magical, whimsical thing that just comes to you. It has developed for me by increasing my awareness in the present moment. So the further and deeper I am aware, the more I learn about all the nuances of who I am and the outer world and people I'm intersecting with, that then lets me show up better informed of how all of these things intersect, including myself. It's the best way I know how to describe it is I live on a cul-de-sac, right? And when I get ready to go to work, I come to a T intersection and I can go right or left to get to work. Both routes take about the same time in no traffic, right? But depending on the day, which way you choose, you might be behind semis or caught in some sort of traffic jam or whatever. You don't really ever know which way to take. I don't hit an app to see the time difference on both routes. I get to the T intersection and I just know which way to go without overthinking it, overanalyzing it. I just trust that I'm going to turn the right way. And if it doesn't work out for me, that's okay too. That's part of furthering your intuition.
There's a learning,
right?
Even in the intuition.
Correct. Yep. It's not about getting it right, right? Or landing it exactly. It's, again, letting go of overthinking, of ego, and just becoming fluid in how you move through life and decisions. And I will say, anytime I've ever strayed, I mean, I feel it here and here, 2 spots.
Your wisdom centers.
Like they resonate with strength. And anytime I've abandoned them, things have played out in ways that I wouldn't have hoped. Like, so I come back to that each and every time and just say, go there, go there.
The teaching of be still and listen, be still and know.
For sure. Yeah, stillness before action. It's a good thing. Really good thing. Yeah.
So when you find yourself in those moments of struggle where there is that churning in the belly and the heart, like, oh, something is a little off, and you're faced with some challenges, obstacles of life, carrying forth this positive mindset. Can you speak a little bit more to that? And
yeah, absolutely. So when I'm in a struggle, even when I'm out of struggle, I walk a lot. So I spend a lot of time in nature. In fact, now that it's getting colder, my partner and I are having arguments because I will wear a coat and a hat in the house just so we can have the sliding glass doors open and the windows open in like 20-degree weather, because I just thrive in that fresh air. I live in a house surrounded by windows so that I can just have access to that energy. So when I'm in struggle, I often go outside because I've just always felt like anything that I need to know, the world is actually doing already, in the way that it grows and dies and rebirths and lots of other things. So that is a place where I seek peace, where I become even more comfortable being alone, if that makes sense. Because I can trust my intuition and myself better when I let go of, again, judgment, ego, or anybody judging what I might do. So being outside by myself is a place where I can center and just be like, it's going to be okay. So definitely a place where I find solace and wisdom. That's how I know where to go. Yeah.
I want to ask about your story, your life. That there's been potential waves, right? And how you do skillfully navigate and holding the space for you to tell a story. For me, you are an inspiration of knowing only bits and pieces of your life, and knowing how storytelling can be so healing. I'll just put that out there.
Yeah.
If there is a, I know that's
Rich,
like
settle
that's
in.
like
We're gonna
the
be here a
can of
while.
worms, right?
Yeah.
But creating this space of what allows you to step into your authentic self? One thing that I've really been working on myself is this idea of being vulnerable, which means to be seen. But it's this ability to be vulnerable, which is the full continuum of emotions, that brings me into a state of authenticity.
Yep. All right, here we go. This might feel like an interesting entry point, but I think it's worth noting. My parents are lovely human beings, and I believe they nurtured a lot of this in me, or at least gave me the space to do so. So these might not have been their exact words, but definitely in the realm, and they definitely communicated this to me through their behaviors, but their messaging to me, I mean, even as a young kid, was like, you don't belong to us, in a good way. You don't belong to us. You belong to you and the world. And so your job and our job as your parents is just to let you go and guide you when needed, but like, go explore, go be, go figure out how you want to rest in this world. And I think that's pretty unique for two parents. Right? And that was always how they treated me and raised me. I mean, they still were hard asses on me. Don't get me wrong. Like, they didn't just let me float. But that was all there was this expectation of, and gentle, but like, your job is to figure out how you contribute to this world. And there was such a freedom in that even as a young kid, which I think, sitting here now thinking about it, it made me really unafraid to just step into my life, right? I also am grateful for having some challenges early on in my life. A lesson that I had or did have the opportunity to learn as a younger 13-year-old, which is actually the same age as my son right now. I've always kind of had this very positive, welcoming energy, and experienced a moment at 13 where that was taken advantage of by a trusted adult in a sexual way. Which was an experience that made me second guess my belief in giving love and joy and openness, which is what I have always felt destined to do. But at 13, when you have that kind of spirit and don't necessarily know how to navigate it, that was something that I experienced. And it sent me on a trajectory, though, of, again, I would say, like, better knowing myself. I mean, it was something that happened. That luckily was resolved with care and compassion, and I was able to get out of that sad experience. But it probably took a decade plus to unearth that, like, who you see in front of you, which is, I want to be fully open and giving and not be afraid to do that. So that definitely was something that impacted me, and lots of full circleness. So that was actually overlaid with the exact timing of when my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so there was a lot happening with my parents' lives in that moment too. Which again, I think was something that I've had to just unravel, or did have to unravel for quite some time. Yeah. Probably the next significant moment in my life, there are many significant moments, but people are often shocked to know that I was divorced. I am on my second marriage. And gosh, this was like 20 years ago now. I am old. But
age is a number.
Yeah, a number. I, married my college sweetheart, and we moved to Colorado together, and like I followed, the thing, like we moved to Colorado together, we got an apartment together, we dated, and we were starting to get in our late 20s, and
Social norms.
Yep, exactly. Here we go. Oh, you're going to propose? Yes. And there was nothing crazy bad about it, other than we weren't going to be good partners for each other in the long term. So for somebody who people look at and like, she's got it all, or I hear that a lot, she's got it all figured out or whatever, to have something fail like that early on, again in my late 20s, felt so big and so scary. Didn't know how to tell my parents. In fact, this is good timing too. It was Thanksgiving when my previous husband moved out, and my parents were actually joining us for Thanksgiving that year, and they showed up, and I said, "He's not here." And that's how I told them. And I was terrified to tell them. And my dad, a wise man, said, "Allie, you keep saying this is a failure." He said, "It's only a failure if you don't grow from it." And that was their sentiment. They were sad, that was hard for them too, but I will never forget those words. That was the only task he gave me, was, what is there for you to learn in this? How will you grow from this? How will you change from this? Where do you go from here? And he would have said the same thing to my ex, actually. So I was able to share that with them, and it was accepted with no judgment, right? So words of wisdom in my challenges have helped me get better at them. I lost my best friend to suicide around the same time. I love him.
Lots of waves.
Yeah, love him so very much. And what that taught me, one of the many things it taught me, is he he just wasn't able to climb out of the darkness that he was experiencing. And again, no judgment there. But I when the note that he wrote me, that he left for me, arrived on my doorstep, like, I think I started to notice what gift I think that I bring to the world, which is, or how I would think about it, I want any person that's sitting across from me or intersecting with me to be able to show up exactly who they are in whatever capacity they are in, with zero judgment. He knew I loved him exactly as he was, and his choice never changed that one little bit. So in whatever ways I'm connecting with people, like, I literally think about whoever you are right now, I freaking love you. You don't have to be anything more or less. And just honoring the dignity of each human being's experience and journey. Like, I really feel that with people. You can tell me whatever you think the worst thing in the world is, and I'm gonna love you through it all. And just seeing people for all the wonderfulness and horribleness that we all are, right?
And that's rare, to be able to love without condition.
Yeah.
And the waves that have moved through your life, the ability to continue to step into this place of infinite love.
Yeah.
That truly, truly is a gift.
Yeah. And it was definitely just solidified when I got pregnant with my son. Well, back up. I met a new boy that, and when I met him, I was like, oh, this is what it feels like, actually. And yeah, he's a whole other topic, but he's darn great. He's darn great. First person, who, like, I felt like I could fully show up. We are yes people for one another. We are about helping each other move through this life in the best ways we know how. Yeah, we decided to build a family, and I got pregnant, and we were so excited. And at my 20-week appointment, which I happened to be there by myself because my husband was out of town, and that was the day during an ultrasound that, I mean, it was my first ultrasound, so I didn't realize that their quietness was actually communicating that something was very wrong, very wrong. And he, I was told, and I could see on the pictures that he was born with something called micronathia or Pierre-Robin sequence, which makes, in simple terms, means you're kind of born without a chin, or it's so receded that your airway is blocked, your ability to eat is blocked. It, especially at the time, was a very rare, under-researched condition. So there I was, him here with me, in me, not having a lot of information, but being told he's likely not going to make it. Or if he's going to make it, it's not going to be good. And that was a dark time for me. Again, that was right around Thanksgiving. Yep. Wow. Yep. This is helping. This is bridging some connections here.
And a time that is about gratitude.
Right. Really testing me. Really pressing on it. Yeah. I was so scared. So terrified. I remember I pretty much locked myself in my bedroom. I would go to work, but I really don't remember those days very well because I just was so stuck. There were no answers. This was my first time through everything. I just could not make sense of my world. Complete spinning and desperation, guilt, like wondering, like, what did I do to deserve this? Like all of those things. And it was towards the end of the year around Christmas time where I actually went to my in-laws' house for some sort of celebration, holiday celebration. And there was so much joy in the room. And I thought, this is just my life. And my husband said to me when I was going through the struggle, he said, how bad can it be? We made him. Like it's going to be exactly how it's supposed to be. And that's where I started to turn the corner, and I would sit in the nursery and just like put my hands on my belly and just say, just get to me. If you can get to me, I can take care of you. So to be told that your child will not live and to have him arrive and get on a jet, like directly taken out of my arms, get on a jet and fly to Minneapolis, to have significant surgeries and all sorts of things, but to live. And then not just to live, but to thrive. And he's just like the coolest, wisest, kindest human being. He's a 13-year-old boy, and I like hanging out with him. Game changer. So all of those little snippets up until that point, hard stuff as a teenager, losing a friend, a divorce, that experience with my son, I know what a bad day is. I know what weeks of bad days are. And now I hang out with this person in my house that reminds me how to be grateful every single day. There is no going back. For me, there was no going back. Those days were so hard. And once I started to get on the other side of them, it was like,
you know too much.
Right, I know too much. Exactly.
You know your intuition so well.
Yeah. Yep.
And your heart so well.
Yeah. So I'm 13 years in on that. feels good. Favorite life. Yeah. Yeah. And that experience definitely prepared me for what I'm going through currently. Just starting with facts, to receive a breast cancer diagnosis on August 1st of this year was a surprise. I made myself a physical appointment because sometime back in March, something didn't feel right. I never, ever thought it's this, that, or whatever. I was like, I just don't feel right. So I'm gonna call a doctor. I'm gonna find a doctor. I'd had a couple of physicians move in and out, so got a recommendation. This particular physician was booked 3 months out, and I thought, okay, well, let's make that appointment for July or whatever. And in a matter of a few weeks, being given this diagnosis, was hard to hear for sure. But again, at the time, I'm at like my peak positivity and strength, right? I'm like, I got this. I can do this, which is a good thing. That's a good thing. So because I had to have several follow-up biopsies and procedures and CT scans of my heart and so on and so forth, I found out I had the diagnosis, but I didn't have surgery for 2 months. So you're sitting there with your physical body thinking, I have something that's not good for me, or again, that's a little unknown. So to wait 2 months to have surgery to remove the tumor was a long, hard wait. But I would say I rode that part of the wave pretty well, because had I not known it was there, I felt pretty good overall. I had surgery, and it ended up needing to be far more invasive than expected, which is totally okay. And I am glad that it happened the way it did. It was done for the right reasons. But because of that, I've had to take lots of weeks to heal. And so now, 2 months after surgery, I'm finally to the point of we're in radiation and treatment and actually fighting for cancer not to come back. So the wait has been long. And if I can attempt to kind of describe what I'm experiencing or what I'm trying to learn from all of this, I will try, because I'm still very much in the depths of it. But I would say, as I've sort of described my life journey, I would say my emotional and mental health has always been it's been pretty strong. It was something that always felt, it was always there for me, even if I was refining it or whatever. I always heard the term like, you're wise beyond your years or whatever, but like that always felt very secure. And I would say my physical well-being was also that. Health was a priority for our family. But my emotional and mental well-being, I think, led, if that makes sense. So in my 40s, though, I discovered yoga and strength, and I sort of had finally gotten to a point where I just like shed any fear that I had from other experiences. I just physically, I felt fucking great. Like stronger than ever, healthier than ever. Like I'm like, I think I've got this figured out. My body felt fluid.
Yeah. Didn't you do like 8 classes in a day?
I did. I mean, that was the point. I like, what? Throw me a challenge.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Yes.
And it was, I mean, I'm talking waking up every day feeling freaking fantastic, sleeping well, eating well, like just clicking, right? And I think in my mind, I thought, yeah, all of the components now, right? My physical well-being, my emotional well-being, my spiritual well-being, all the things, my heart being, all are working well together, I think is what I thought. So again, in the time between diagnosis and surgery, those days were hard because I had some procedures that took me down a little bit, but for the most part, I could bounce back. To feel great on September 24th and come out on September 25th feeling really dang crappy for the right reasons. Hard. And then, not hard on September 25th. I was on a lot of drugs. So maybe not quite that. But as week 1 finished, and week 2 finished, and week 3 finished, I couldn't even go for walks by week 3 or 4. Again, because of some of the things that they needed to do, I realized my body had been changed. And it was going to the road was going to be much harder. And I didn't expect like the mourning that would come with that, the sadness that would come with that. I mean, I have been popping out of bed for years, and now it's like, oh, roll over in the bed. Okay, can I feel the back of my arm today? And many other things. Go ahead.
It's trauma.
Yeah.
And how do you then navigate trauma
right.
on a physical level, and how that physical trauma will just ripple then into the other layers?
For sure. And I think I can say it now. My ego is pretty high around my physical well-being. Like, I will be strong forever. Nothing can hurt me on a physical sense. I was wrong. And actually, a good friend of mine in one of my yoga spaces said, the world just needed you to stop. And I said, I know, but I don't like it. And he said, I know. And after he said that to me, I was like, okay, there's something here. So where I'm at right now is, yes, my emotional, spiritual, heart being are really strong, but I think I had allowed my physical strength to get so strong. These are still maintained, but I have not attended to some things in those spaces that are probably would have kind of gone on and been fine, but they're not fine. And that's where I'm working now. And it's not that anything's wrong or anything. It's just I had focused all my energy on that physical space because the other things were doing fine. So now I'm working to get to true integration of all of it. and also learning a lot about what it means to heal from physical trauma and, again, all of those things.
You are a multi-dimensional being, and the ability to bring all of these layers then into a state of harmony. I mean, you could say equanimity, but always in a state of flux.
For sure.
Maybe shifting the wording. It's always in a state of flow.
Yeah. Every moment, and things can change, and which is a beautiful thing. Yeah. Because I would say the thing that can pull me into fear is like, is this how it's always going to be or feel, or are these the sensations that I will always have? And actually, no. The answer is no.
This too shall pass.
Right. But it only passes if you also feel it all in the experience. So, and again, I had to start, I did have another journal that I started to write down. I need to start tracking like how I'm feeling better, because it was so minuscule to start healing that I wasn't actually noticing all that my body was doing too. Because where I am today is tons better than 8 weeks ago. Yeah.
And where you'll be 8 weeks from now.
Correct. Just like my son Ben, who, when he was born on March 15th, 2011, and then I looked at him on March 15, 2012, whole different story. Yeah. Yeah. You asked about tips and tricks for staying positive too. It just occurred to me, like, I think part of what's helped me through this journey is, and it's something that I talk a lot about when I have spaces to do so, is we talk a lot about being connected and in relationship, which, yes, and absolutely. But I think we also need to think about like how we get really comfortable with being alone and in relationship with self. And that's something I think I've always spent time working on. And so in these moments of wrestling, in these last 6 months, I've been okay being with me, and it hasn't come without challenge, but I know how, I've been surrounded by tons of help, but I know how to be alone. And sometimes I wonder if we just, as a society, don't talk about that enough, of like, be in relationship with self. That is just as important as being in relationship with others. Yeah. I talked a lot.
The idea for me is reaching in and reaching out. And the reaching in is sitting with my stuff.
Yeah.
And letting me be in that place of stillness, solitude, silence. Let me unpack my own stuff. And then the reaching out, like, okay, I've started to unpack this. Maybe I need a little bit more support. Who are the people in my community that I can lean on?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, speaking of community, where are you finding those pockets?
the first thing that comes to mind, like the place that I found so much love and support was in my yoga community. Oh man, this will make me emotional. You're part of it. Like to be able to share my story and be just like wrapped in love and support and like, because again, I had 8 weeks before I even had surgery, but I needed to be with my family in those 8 weeks and just get grounded in what life was going to be like, and just to like be told, we've got you, meant a ton. It is also what kept my mind and heart clear leading up to surgery, being able to practice on my mat and be with others in that space. And then it was the place I wanted to be back at. Even when I was still feeling pretty crappy, I was like, how can I get to that space with those other humans that generate energy, that just felt like a hug and care and compassion and understanding, and it's almost hard to describe, but that is the space I was seeking to get back to even before I had to leave it. Like, for me, it's a space of healing in so many ways. I mean, beyond these 6 months, it always has been that. Yeah. The two wonderful humans, 2 boys I live with at home. I wrote a little bit about this in my blog, but and I wrote about it even before I had surgery. Was I could sense that Ben was going to thrive. You know, that like, wow, well, I tend to live a very busy life, a life of contribution, which had kept me very busy in good ways, in ways and that I believe my son and I know my husband were proud of, right, and supportive of. But I am telling you, they are doing so well because a wife is present and a mom is really present right now. In the simplest of ways. You know, me being home at 3:30 to get Ben off the bus instead of getting home at 7 p.m. every night is a gift for him. And as an 8th grader, I'm getting time with a 13-year-old that I probably wouldn't have orchestrated doing together.
The universe needed you to stop.
Yeah. My husband is, I don't know, I've just seen him light up in a way that maybe I haven't seen in a while. And I don't mean that, again, that he was, you know, just a dud over in the corner. He was just fine. But I think if he was sitting right here, he would say that. He would probably have the words for it that I don't. I'm just seeing this light around him that I haven't seen. And the way that we're enjoying life together. Like, having silly conversation and laughing and eating a meal together, more than once a week. And then don't even get me started on the dog and the cat. They are going to struggle when I, get back to a regular routine. But I have a community at my simple little house that's pretty dang great. And when I spoke about when I met John, oh, this is it. Well, I can tell you now, yep, this is it. Where you show up, yeah. Even when you have a ball of fluid underneath your armpit that, or whatever, or in struggle. Yeah.
Do you think you've been part of that, as you spoke to about holding space for those to show up authentically in whatever capacity, that you've created that space for yourself and now your community?
Yeah. I again have been so grateful for them as my family unit, but it's we've either returned to something deeply magical or we've evolved to something crazy magical that is really special. Yeah. And I mean, the amount of love and support I've gotten from friends upon friends and colleagues upon colleagues has been insurmountable. Trying to figure out exactly what I'm attempting to say here, but a little bit back to what I had said before, I'm not kidding. When I am with people, I care a lot about the humans that are in my life and that I have the opportunity to be with and work with. And you can't fake that. And so when I had to step away, I've never needed to be recognized for that, but it the love was just insanely intense, and I didn't even know all that was there. Yeah.
Did you ever find yourself being challenged by the ability to receive all of that?
Yes. For sure. For sure. Oh yeah, early on, especially, because I want to be the I've got it, I've got it person, and I didn't have it. I needed help. And I still need help, and that has also been a good lesson for me. I mean, again, Steffi, I wanted to be I'm gonna go have this surgery. I will be back in 3 weeks. you know? Nope. That's not how it was going to work. And I went through, I wouldn't even say it was guilt. It was more like shame. Like, wait a second, like, am I disappointing people? Like that because again, being positive or showing signs of resilience doesn't mean that you don't have to go through all the stuff. So I think I worried about, am I not being resilient enough? Quick enough? And I quite honestly couldn't be. Had to stop.
One of the inquiries that I have sometimes been in is, what is the enough? What does enough look like on any particular day?
Yeah.
Me getting out of bed. Some days that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I brushed my teeth.
Did
That's
it.
enough.
Did it. Well, I think
Yeah.
you saw me in one of your meditation classes, and I was like, shoot, I think I slept in this. You were like, you are here. Yeah. And enough for me, like authenticity means the world to me. Like the moment I don't feel like I'm being authentic or real, I misaligned. Like I am out of alignment for sure. So if that means I'm in my Christmas socks, in my pajamas at your meditation class, that's what it's going to have to mean.
All are welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
What do you see on the horizon?
I'm going to go with, I'm not sure. And there have been moments in the past handful of weeks, months, where again I've kind of gone into those moments of like, will I figure it out? Because I've just I've had just these years of feeling like I have just constant momentum, you know, and to come to sort of a halt point. Has been a good place for me to come back to trust and intuition that I don't know, but I'm paying attention, and I know that what needs to be, or what will be, will arrive. It's worked every single other time in my life. If you're just paying attention, staying true to what I value, being authentic, it will come, and I will know. So I don't know, but on August 1st, when I got the diagnosis, I've often said, I get to live. Like, I have a breast cancer diagnosis, but my prognosis is I get to live, right? I get to get beyond this. So that's what I see on the horizon. I'm here. I get to be here. Yeah.
Showing up.
Showing up. Yeah. Right before I came here, so again, my son is 13 years old, and we haven't had the magic of Christmas and what we believe in, how gifts might arrive or Santa or whatever. That conversation has never arisen, like up until this point. Like we have all believed uh, on, again, Santa and all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
But right before I came here, I had put some little tradition thing out in our living room, and Ben came in and said, you know, you don't have to do that anymore because I kind of know. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, just like my mom told me, if you believe, it's better. And he kind of chuckled, and I said, even your mom still believes in a little bit of magic.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, technically, Mom, it was true because I believed it. And just this whole thing of like, and you say it often, of like constantly saying, is this true?
Mm-hmm.
And what is really there for me to believe, right? And I get to figure that out. But it was just so sweet. Technically, Mom, it all was true because I believed it at the time or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it true? Is it really true?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
For me, that brings me into that space of childlike curiosity and truly into the wonder and the awe, and that's where the magic is.
Yeah. Which is why I still believe in the magic, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you could give any sort of advice or words of wisdom to those who are also navigating big waves, little waves, choppy waves.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to come back to we are here for such a short time. And today does not get to be tomorrow. So again, the moment that you're in is you. And if I'm standing next to you, that's the moment I want you to be in. I would never want to ask anybody to push away the challenges in their life or resist them. Because that's what makes us our full beings. And I know that's easier said than done. But with love and hope, you're going to be okay. Yeah.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. Can I stay here forever? Can I just stay here forever and talk with Steffi?
Yeah. I'm not going to do that.
I know. Yeah. You gave me this necklace when I was done with teacher training. And I wear it a lot. I have ever since I've had it, and I've especially worn it in the last 6 months. Just its placement has brought sensations that feel comforting. And the rock that you gave me, that you, at the time, you all wrote the words, and mine says listen. And I have it in a spot that I see every day. And it just reminds me, just listen and pay attention, right? And a badass back then. I did. Like, just mad props and respect to you. And you were exactly who I needed in my life during that experience. And it's been really fun to be in relationship with you in even deeper ways since that moment. And I want to sit down and interview you is what I want to do. Like, you were a badass then, but it's like badass with like this gentle softness that just like is glowy and wonderful and really fun and amazing to be around. Yeah.
I think it's part of what your dad had said, like, you need to figure it out. And what is your soul alignment? What is your heart wisdom? And my dad gave me similar advice. He just said, you be you. You be you.
Yeah.
Keep coming back to that.
Yep. I love that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here, showing up,
for sure,
being full of love and hope, qualities that this world truly needs more of.
Agree.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are welcome.